So, I mean, doing research on you, I read somewhere that you've actually been doing this for the last decade or 2 decades, was it?
Yeah, 20 years.
That's really phenomenal.
Yeah.
How did this all start for you at the very beginning? What was the, that first moment where you knew that you were meant to be doing this work and that you had this calling?
Well, it started out when I was young, a boy. Um, I had memories of uh, being somewhere before I was here. Okay, so right from early age, even at 3 years old, I used to stand up on apple boxes and preach about the vibration of love.
Oh,
I used to
wow.
think it was hilarious, but it's been all my life. But there was a period of time where where I where I got sidetracked. This is what
As we all do at some point, right?
yeah. And this sidetrack is where I'm really, helping people, focusing on, because as they came in as these, you know, beings that can, are attuned to everything. And then they
Absolutely.
were hypnotized into being something else. And so this is
Absolutely.
really the area that I work in, is to help them to dehypnotize and come back into their true nature and start expressing the gifts and abilities that they have. Yeah.
So,
What,
yeah, no, were you continuing?
one of the biggest things that has been squelched in people, that is their greatest power, is their own imagination. If they can't imagine themselves in the next step, they're not going to go there, no matter what you
Absolutely.
do. But bringing back that imagination that was part of the hypnotizing, bringing back that imagination, people can do a lot of things, uh, heal themselves, transcend, whatever they want to do. But we need to, uh, so I guess I went off on a little bit of a tangent. I do that
No,
sometimes.
this is all solid information that people want to hear.
So the thing with this is that once we bring back our ability to imagine our next step, then we bring back the power to transcend, because you can use that
Absolutely.
imagination to do anything, right?
That's exactly what people need in this new earth that's coming into fruition to step into their power.
The thing with this is that a lot of people don't realize they've been so psychologically lazy that they have been
Oh yeah.
relying on the past and regurgitating the past over and over again, and not
Absolutely.
stepping into the driver's seat. Why? Because they're afraid there's nothing in front of them. Well, the truth is there isn't, and there never has been. We're manifesting as you manifest yourself every day in whatever fashion you
Exactly.
choose to to do that in.
Exactly.
And so what what people need to do is to understand that no matter if you're sitting back and just letting your past manifest for you, or you're standing in the present moment realizing there's nothing in front of you and you just have to put in what you want to put in, either way you're still manifesting your whole reality. You're doing it to you, right?
Exactly. I think that that's such an important piece of information that people miss, especially in the law of attraction community. They think that they're working with this magic formula that isn't there, but it's like it's them. It's what you're doing every single day. It's just choosing how to do it from your desire and from your power.
Exactly. You're the one doing it, even the things you don't like, right?
Absolutely. So how did
Because
the
we Mhm.
yeah, no, go for
No,
it.
go ahead.
How did the whole
Because
trans alchemist thing come in? It's okay. We're stepping over each other. That's okay. That was just my next question. How did the whole Trance Alchemist title come about? And what does that mean exactly?
Well, because I work with hypnosis in the sense that I understand hypnosis and how human beings were hypnotized to be limited. I
Absolutely.
started out as a hypnotherapist, but what I was teaching was so advanced that people were questioning. They were saying to me, "Dwaine, this isn't even hypnosis anymore.
Okay.
What this is something else. So what is that? You know?" And being that I use trance as part of the therapy that I use, and it's very easy, it's very simple. Uh, just coming into a space together, the trance part of it, with their eyes open, so they're not closed-eyed or anything. Their eyes wide open and they're taking it full on. But that's the trance part. The alchemy part is the fact that we are immersed in fear in this society. If fear is being
Oh
thrown
yeah.
at us, bombarded. We're always in this state of fear of some sort. Fear is like lead, right? And in trance alchemy, in alchemy, you transform lead into gold. Okay, and the gold is coming into the state of love. So you can take a look at it as a physical transformation from lead to gold, but you also look at it from a point of view of the spirit transforming from fear to love. Okay, so that's the trance alchemy part, where they love themselves. They love themselves so much that they no longer pay attention to the outside of this fear that's going on, that they come inside and realize that they're the ones that are being influenced to manifest what they don't want, and
Absolutely.
that keeps them trapped, that keeps them enslaved. So by transforming that and taking ownership and coming back into doing some disciplines, which is simple disciplines of just uh, focusing on what and where you want to go rather than what's happening in the world, that you actually create a reality within the matrix of your own.
Oh yeah. And people are so externally focused on that fear and, what is this person telling me? What is the media telling me? And it's completely destroying their sense of self.
It is. It is. They're getting weaker by the minute. And they need to stand in their power, their own sovereignty. As a proclaimed, God or goddess, as I call it, but I am the one in control of my reality. And the thing with it is that you can be, and I've seen it many times, people can be living right amongst all of this fear mongering that's going on and be in a state of bliss and
Oh yeah.
literally create their own reality of bliss within the system.
And that goes collectively. It's like a domino effect. When one person's holding that space, it goes throughout the entire collective because we're all connected in that way.
Exactly. People pick it up. Also, but here's the thing, is that too many people get involved in doing it for somebody else, or without doing it for themselves first.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. Now it is a self transformation first, then it moves in. So like in my courses and the things that I teach, we start with the person first. We got to clean that up, right? We got to
Yeah.
wash out the bottle to put in a good wine. We
Absolutely.
clean that up first. Then from that realization and knowingness of what it does to you, then you can help other people do it, right?
Absolutely. So, I saw a post of yours back and we were talking a little bit, and I felt like it was so important, the message that you're saying, and I feel like it is connected in a way to what we were just talking about how even there's, all these teachers out there, and that even is people externally paying attention to something that's not serving them. Do you have any comment on that for the viewers?
And this one you mean about people going from teacher to teacher and not really?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the thing about that is that uh, they're turning up the ADHD basically. Uh, what I'm saying, with all of this bombardment to somebody who has even a minor ADHD, they're being diverted, and they're not really taking in the work. So they're going to so many people, different people, that they're not getting it themselves. This is the part where I mentioned that in that post, is
Yeah,
that people need to come to themselves. It's not a
absolutely.
teacher out there, but you have to find a teacher that teaches you to come to yourself, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Because
It's
that's where it
funny.
starts. Yeah.
After you had written that post and we had the conversation, I did some self-reflecting, and I was kind of looking at all these teachers that I was looking at that weren't serving me, and literally just by stopping following them, not tuning into their stories, not tuning into their live Facebook feeds, like it's actually done an extreme transformation on myself, because then it's, you're closing in on your power and what you need to be doing and changing your life from what you know is right.
Exactly. When we do a good job of what I call eliciting with a
Okay.
client, they have all kinds of gold sitting there in their past
Oh
of
yeah.
experiences and things they've experienced, whatever. And a lot of them denounce all of that and go look for a teacher.
Oh yeah.
But the thing is that you can't relate to the teacher because that's their experiences.
Exactly.
You need to relate to your own golden experiences you've had and bring them forward and start expanding on those. Now that is your true song that you sing with the universe, with source energy itself. It's an individual, personal relationship
I
with
love
its
that. I
own
love that.
unique uh, attributes, things you've experienced
Yeah. How
that
can we make a
source has been.
harmony? Yeah. How can we make a musical harmony if we're all tuned to B note or C note? Like
Yeah,
it would just be this, noisy repetition instead of the musical harmony of finding your own song. I really, really like that, what you've just said.
yeah. It was from an old story I heard about a boy that happened upon a didgeridoo painter. This old fellow was painting didgeridoos,
Oh.
and the young boy walked up, and he was so impressed with what the old man was doing. The little boy walked up to him and he said, "I'm going to paint just like you." And the old man said, "No, you won't. It'll kill you." And the boy was in shock. And the old man explained. He says, "You can only paint like you. You can't paint like somebody else."
Absolutely.
We have a whole life here where people are trying to paint like somebody else, but it's their
Oh
unique
yeah.
gifts that need to come out, not
Oh yeah.
somebody else's idea.
Exactly. And people have really, really lost touch with that. I feel, when I'm working with people, they come to me and they're like, what's my purpose? And they just don't even know what they're doing here. They don't
No,
know what they're doing here. They don't know they have talents. They don't know how they have worth. And it shocks me that so many people are living in that state, because it's sad. It's really sad to see people having to live like that.
it is. And it's so quick for them to get that answer from themselves.
Oh yeah.
And that's the fun part. When I do the magical inner child work with the magical inner child, that child knows. That child came in knowing. It was after the hypnosis that we forgot. We had amnesia. But that little child inside knows. There's something that we need to do first, is to clear up a few of the wounds that happened in childhood. And then that child gets very expressive and will start to share with you, like I was trying to share at 3 years old, right, on that
Oh.
Apple box. So
That's amazing.
it's through my life experience that I came up with these ideas and concepts. me healing myself, but taking it back to looking at it from basically a skeleton point of view, as in these are some of the things that need to shift for people to come into their power, into their abilities, but the insides of that is their own. So the skeleton work is, you know, I do inner child work, I do magical inner child, or remove the critic. These things are skeleton ideas, but within it is the person's own experience of it and how it reacts with them. And that's what I help them to clear out.
That's amazing. So you're connecting people, like, if you could explain a little bit more. So you're connecting people to, like, basically their inner child, or like what their inner child felt and knew when they came into this world before being hypnotized, basically.
Yes, what I found is that there is no higher self. It was the child all along.
Oh, okay.
That it was the child that came in already knowing that knows. There can be a higher aspect of self, but it's inside of you. It's all inside of you,
Absolutely.
not outside.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I really love that. People, what I've been feeling, and I'd really like to hear your comment on this. What I've been really noticing in the spiritual community recently is, becoming so split between going outside of themselves to their higher self and their guides, and just completely destroying their actual union between the spiritual essence, which is already within them, and their human life, their human world.
Exactly. You see, there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge, we have all kinds of it on the net. You can hear all kinds of knowledge everywhere. Fill your head with it. But the thing that's going to take you home is wisdom. And wisdom you have to have an experience in order to have wisdom of it. And so the one thing that's really missing in the new movement here is that experiential. They need to have a body sensation. They need to feel something. Right?
Oh yeah.
Not just more knowledge come in.
Oh yeah. And you see people going to these teachers or these workshops, and they come out high, and then the next day it's like they've just dropped into not knowing what they're doing with their life.
Yeah.
They've dropped back into feeling depressed, feeling like they're not worthy. And it's because, I feel like it's the certain people or workshops, that are just taking them up, 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 but they're not having them experience what it's like to be that, to express that divine Christ consciousness within their human form, to actually feel it, experience it, as you were saying, within their body,
Yes.
and within their life. And that's what's really important. That's where we need to go towards.
It is. I mean, you can't go 5D unless you know what that would feel like.
So
Because you won't stay there. But if you create what that would feel like, what would it feel like to be fifth dimensional? No, this person will say this person will say that, this person they'll say all kinds of things. It doesn't matter what they say. What does the client feel? And once we do that, now we're moving that person, that client, to that state of 5D. But the confusion is all this knowledge out there, all this talk that doesn't ground into the person.
Exactly.
And that's when you have this, they go to the thing and they're high, and then they fall because they don't know what.
And they don't know how to access it again. They don't know how to access that high again.
And that's very simple to access that high again.
Because you need to learn how to do it within yourself first, right?
That's right. And all states of being live within you. You just have to locate, where is it? Yes. Where did you feel it when you were in that state before? And then just breathe into that state and expand it, and it'll expand. But people don't know that. They're out there, the cart before the horse. They don't think of themselves as being, a god or goddess. They don't think of themselves as being the one who's creating it all. You see? And so then they miss that part. And
I
so they
see.
think it's in somebody else. So they keep outward searching instead of coming to the inner portal that takes them into the other dimensions, right?
So, what tips could you give to the audience watching in terms of how to access that Christ consciousness within themselves?
Well, first off, you're not going to go anywhere at
Okay.
all in life unless you can imagine it, a state of being in front of you accessing that. What
Yes.
would you look like, sound like, and feel like in that state of Christ consciousness? What would be going on in your body? What would what would happen? Like right now, as I'm describing that to you, I can see you start to feel that just by
Absolutely.
just by focusing on that image. Now, as you do that, there's something called mirror neurons in our brain,
Okay.
and we can't look at something without some relating to it, to somebody
Okay.
in some way. So when you put your own self-image in front of you in that state, in that higher state, right, and you
Yeah.
focus on it, you start getting the feelings. They start shifting, things start shifting. It's working more with metaphor than it is with do this, here's the, but working with
Exactly.
metaphor. As you do that and you start to raise vibration in you, you simply own it. You start breathing in and expanding that feeling inside of you. And it'll take you anywhere you want to go. It's the keys to the Merkaba.
Absolutely.
See, you can dimensionally, if you let go, you can dimensionally shift. If you let go of your past, then you're free to be in your present any way you like to be. And it is a present, it's quite a gift to be
Oh, yeah.
disconnected from your past completely. You don't need it. It's happened, it's just a thing. If you let go of that instead of defining yourself with your past, then you are undefinable in the present moment. And in being undefinable, you could be anything you want to be.
Absolutely. So, have you worked at all with the Merkaba before? What it's something that I haven't really worked too much with, so I'm curious to see if you have anything to say on that subject at all.
From what I've experienced in my reality, uh, and what I study about the Merkaba, what I'm sharing with you is the same thing.
Okay.
Really, we have literally a multitude of possible realities in front of us. We can choose any one we want to. How we choose it is through the vibration that we feel and allow ourselves to feel. That'll determine our next step or where we're entering into, right? The plausibilities are endless, but it's in our present moment and how we feel that gives permission for this reality or that reality or any reality, you see. So that is really the Merkaba. It talks about going to other dimensions, in with the Merkaba. Well, I've been to other dimensions right here. Uh, I can go into different dimensions while you're talking to me, and
That's insane.
sometimes that might, yeah. The thing with this is that people don't realize this, but they can travel. Uh, I could be sitting here talking to you, and if I have your permission to come to your place, I can stand there beside you as well while I'm talking to you. You won't see me as a physical form, but you'll sense me,
That's incredible.
you know.
That's absolutely incredible.
And I stumbled into that working with distant healing projects that we were doing, and where we would all get together from all over the world, groups of us, and we would all focus on one intent, and we somehow became in one room together. Even though we were sitting here looking at the computer, we were also simultaneously in this one room with the person that we were doing the healing on. And it just started opening up, and I realized we can be in more in one place at one time. although I'm still working on becoming full form in that other place. But you know, I don't give myself a hard time. It'll come when it comes. When I'm ready, it'll come. But what I have been able to do in traveling like that is, and anybody can do it, is, you know, I've done a lot of really interesting, great work with that, right?
That's phenomenal. So, what would you call that exactly? You would call it translocating, or if you were to
I
define it
guess,
for someone?
I guess it would be. You know, somebody asked me the other day if I use remote viewing. I says I actually remote travel. um, you can do that. Um, you can go there, and the person will feel your presence there, and that. And is that really important? Not really. It's just a fun thing. But what's really important is that the person that you're working with actually accesses their abilities within themselves, right? They stop asking the question and start knowing, right, who they
Absolutely.
are.
And
Mhm.
so do you feel that it's a more powerful healing modality to actually, travel like that to someone that you're trying to heal versus the typical energy healing where you're really feeling yourself in this one room and sending the energy there? Do you feel like it's a more powerful way to do that?
Um, the most powerful way to do any healing is to understand that I don't heal anybody. It's the
Okay, yeah.
client that it's the client that heals themselves. And as long as I stay focused on that fact of them healing themselves through what they open up to, then the healing is permanent with the person. If you know, if I play around with, I never think that any modality is the healer, right? The
Yes,
modality
yes.
itself. It's the person themselves that does that. That's what's powerful. So what I do with moving there is just for verification that this is what they are. They're not limited to just this form. They can travel, they can do things. So it kind of helps them to understand there's more, right, than what they've
Oh,
been
yeah.
taught. Always helping people step out of that box that they were hypnotized into, right?
So it's funny, now that you're saying that, just for example, so my mother's a Reiki master, okay? And she would always be doing Reiki healing on me ever since I was like a young child. Oh, is everything okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
so
So just to say that I can now go back and think that even, as young as I was when she was doing it, whenever I would experience a change or a shift from her Reiki, before she would start healing, there was something within me that was like, okay, this is going to work. This is going to heal me. This is going to make me better. So it's like me deciding that that's going to happen. It's not like,
it
I'm
is.
allowing this energy to come in and I'm allowing myself to make that change, right?
It is. Like I've had experiences, many experiences with this over the years, where people will want to bring their husband, their child, their mother, their wife to a session.
Okay.
And I say to them, do they want the session?
Oh yeah, I've gotten
A-
that.
and they go, well, no, but I can pay for it. And I say, save your money. Because if they're not wanting to be there for the transformation, then it's not going to work no matter what you do. You can dance,
Absolutely.
you can do whatever, you can, say I'll hypnotize you and make you do it, whatever. It's still not going to work
They're
until
not
that,
even open to it, maybe,
right.
you know?
They have to be engaged. So I
Exactly.
say to them, talk to them a little bit about what I do and see if that'll shift. And if that shifts, certainly, and then when they do and they talk to the person and that person says, yeah, you know what, I think this is a good idea, boom, now it'll work. So I'm just confirming what you're saying, that all healing, like what your mom was doing with you,
Yeah.
if you didn't want it, it wasn't going to happen. And
Oh
if you
yeah,
wanted it, it was going to happen,
that's
right?
amazing. That's really amazing.
And I've
And
done it.
yeah.
I've done it where why I learned that to say that is that I've done it so many, I've done it times before I realized what I should be doing properly here with the refusing to work with them until they're ready, was that I tried to work with them, right? And then that can be an arduous, trying to convince them of themselves and their own abilities. Um, and and a lot of times it would fail. So
Yeah.
that's how come I say now, no, not until they're ready. There.
Absolutely. So I have a question here from everything that we've been going over. So
Okay.
the whole idea of psychic work, not psychics in general of being able to do these things, but the people who are communicating people's guides for them, the people that are going in and telling them all these things. That's something that I recently broke away with about a year ago for my practice because I figured, it's not putting them into their power. It's not getting them to realize that they have the power to connect with their own guides. They have the power to understand these things. And I just felt like it's just so dangerous to people keep coming back and, oh, what's my guide saying now, what's my guide saying now? It's like you're not getting the message, like you can do this too, you can connect
Yes.
with this too. um
Always, Ash. The more that you move people to self-sovereignty, the better,
yes,
right? That
yes.
they're their own. Yeah.
So I started telling people, like, yes, I can connect with this stuff, but I'd prefer if you do it. I prefer if you connect with your own inner ability to do it. And, like, I can work with you. I do a lot of like emotional integration with people because that's what I find is helpful, because then you're supporting them, you're being present with them, you know, uh, when they're working through their own thing, but it's not giving them the message that you're some sort of magician that's doing it for them. And that's what I'm
Yeah.
really trying to break away with from, because it just doesn't help people. And the people it attracts when you're doing these things is, like, you can really tell that they don't want to change, they don't want help, they're just looking for some sort of formula to have a moment of, it's like taking a pill to end their suffering for 5 minutes and then they go back to it on their own.
Spiritual entertainment.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. That's why
Basically.
I kind of broke away from too. I'm coming into it in a different way. I broke away from doing so many videos, right? Because
Okay.
I
Yeah.
felt that I was nothing more than an entertainer.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
People weren't getting serious about the work at all. They just wanted to watch. And I've posted that before too, that the trailer is nothing like the movie, right? Watching
Absolutely.
these trailers of spiritual, they need to come and experience the movie, right? And
Absolutely.
once they experience themselves, that's something they're never going to forget. They'll always remember, no matter even if they do go south again to a different, avenue for a little while, this is going to call them back all the time because they've had that experience of being sovereign. And so then victimization, those shoes don't fit too well anymore, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, on my own journey or awakening, shall we say, something that I find that's different from my journey than a lot of people's is I didn't have a spiritual teacher that came to me and started talking to me. Like, I literally had an awakening by myself in my own bedroom, and like it took me like at least a year until I found anyone to start watching to understand it. Like, I literally started being, DNA activating the idea of oneness within myself, and no one told me. And
Yes.
I always held on to that experience, and I was never able to break away from it because no one told me about it. It was created within me. The awareness was created within me.
When the student is ready, the teacher will appear, but nobody ever told you the teacher was you.
Yes, love it. I absolutely
So
love that.
this is where, when you get those profound experiences, when those happen to you, and thank God you didn't have a teacher around.
Right?
Honestly, it was your best, because look at where you are now.
Exactly. Yes.
And you have to have a sense of self as a, a direct connection to source energy to do
Exactly.
that. And that's what
Yes.
other people need too, not not second hand or third hand or fourth hand
They need to
coming in,
experience
right?
it within themselves. Yes.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
When we talk about guides and we talk about angels,
Yeah.
are these not just other aspects of yourself?
Absolutely, there. I've definitely already come to that. Most of my, I mean, I have a harder time applying that to angels, but now that you're saying that, it makes sense. But all of my guides, I absolutely know that they're an aspect of my own higher self. They're an aspect of me. Absolutely
Yeah.
are. I absolutely apply that already. Yes.
And so for people out there that are starting to connect with their guides and also understand that they are higher aspects of yourself, right?
Yes. Like when I first had my, I've been connecting with angels my entire life, but when I first had my connection with a guide that wasn't an angelic, being, I literally started crying because I felt myself connecting with a part of myself.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first time that really happened for me. It was like meeting a part of yourself that was lost, or it was just like this reunion of something. It definitely did not feel like it was outside of me at all. I knew, in that moment, like, this is me. I'm meeting this part of me. And it
Yeah.
was beautiful.
Yes. And so in that we want to think about what I just shared earlier about creating that image of, right, and
Yeah.
stepping into that, where you can do that with your guidance too, and become the guidance, right?
Exactly. And that's also what I've been coming to step into more recently, is the idea of, stop relying on those aspects of me that, they are aspects of me, but to actually channel and bring that guidance in through my own body and, find the answers within my own body. So I've definitely been reconnecting with that, because even though they're aspects of you, it's still going outside of yourself all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Once upon a time in a land deep within is,
Absolutely.
is, is where it all began. And yeah, that's the thing that, people need to get, is that we've been so accustomed to going outside of ourselves to find the answer, when we need to flip it and come inside, and then all the answers you ever wanted are going to be there, right? And there's techniques in doing that. Yes, there's techniques in how to go in, and different things that open you up to that. But the thing with it is that a good training in that is always beneficial, is how to go inside and ask your own questions.
Yes.
How to go inside and say, today I will ask no question to anyone, I will simply know the answer. And we have to start to, when we play with that, and basically we're forcing ourselves to go to the other end of this. Not even the price of a loaf of bread or nothing. You don't ask anybody a question for a week.
Yeah.
You just say, I will know, or I do know, right? And what'll happen is the answers will come out of all around you. They will just pop out by you asking the internal question. And
I
it's
notice
interesting.
I notice within myself sometimes that sometimes when I'm asking questions to other people, it's almost like I'm just using it as a way to connect with them. It's like this like loneliness where it's like, not that I need them to give me the answer. It's just like this like, futile attempt to be like, oh, I just need you to connect with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And what would happen if you just said that? Hey, I like you. Why don't we?
Exactly. Maybe I should just start saying that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You seem pretty cool. Want to connect? That's what
Absolutely. But I mean, that's what we need to start doing, because I also feel that that's such a problem, is this idea, that people have that, they're being needy if they want to meet someone new, or like don't be the first one to speak to someone, or like, don't make eye contact because they're going to think that you're bothering them, or they're going to think that you're creeping on them. But it's like, we as humans are not meant to be this disconnected, and it literally just scares me to think of the disconnection when you walk out in public. Everybody's not making eye contact, everybody's doing their own thing, stuck in their own world. And I literally just feel like I want to scream, because like nobody is connecting with each other. It's like, not only are they paying attention to the external world, they're not even focusing on, like, it's like they're not focusing on their own internal world, they're not focusing on their own sovereignty, but at the same time they're not connecting with their brothers and sisters of the earth. They're being completely avoidant and terrified to even speak up.
Exactly. And where did that come from, do you think? The birthing of that is when
Probably
we
the hypnotization, the disconnection.
Mhm. Yeah. So there's a tribe in Africa that doesn't say hello.
Okay,
They say, I see you.
I like that.
And the other one comes back and says, thank you, because when you see me, you bring me to life. Now, what do you think they're talking about? This you that they're seeing.
And there, I see, the aspect of you that is me.
Yeah. And
So
so when
I'm
I look
seeing
at
you
you,
and recognizing that it's me as well.
and that it's also God and Goddess.
Yes. Yeah.
So when I look at you and I say hello,
I
what do you
say,
feel? What do you feel?
coming from you, I do feel seen. But not always. Not always. So I'm a little confused here, but coming from you, I feel seen a little bit. So I feel like it's the same thing. But I guess that's your intention that you're putting behind it, right?
Yes, is to
Okay.
look at you and look beyond the hypnosis, if there's any
Yeah.
left. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Uh, and just recognize you, the one that came in here knowing everything
Yeah.
already, and saying, I see you.
I see you too. Thank you.
And so this is the thing, the recognition that humanity's missing.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
what's happening is let's call it the ego. The ego meets the ego. And it's like, yeah, whatever, because,
Yeah, no, exactly.
meanwhile, the greater aspect of ourselves is craving to be recognized. You see, part of the hypnosis was to not recognize that in anybody. So when you grew up as a little girl and you had these gifts and abilities, maybe people told you, shut it down because you're going to go to the nut house or
Absolutely.
whatever. Okay.
Absolutely.
And so that's the beginning of the programming, where we start shoving this greater part of ourselves into the closet and not becoming this greater part. So when you go and you say, I see you, to this greater part, it
Yeah.
goes, holy shit, somebody paid attention to me. Somebody
Yeah.
actually sees me. And then when that comes out, you see, I learned that from my original teacher.
Okay.
My original teacher didn't see everything that the world was saying I was. My original teacher looked deeply inside and seeing me.
Absolutely.
Uh, and by his continuing looking and seeing me, he brought me out of a world. Remember, I said I started out very spiritual and then I went into a different place. And he was the one that brought me out of that place just by seeing me.
That's amazing. And
By recognizing that in me, I started to want to express from that aspect of myself. And that's what started the ball rolling again.
it's so true, because even when you're connecting with people, just to over like summarize what you're saying from my point of view, it's like even when people are saying hello to you, it's like they're not seeing you. There's that disconnection still. Even when they're looking at you, they're not seeing you. And as you said, they might be seeing just, you know, the hypnotization. They might be seeing this false you that you're projecting to the world. They're not seeing you as a person. They're not seeing you as your own unique being.
And that's what we're hungry for on this planet.
Oh,
And when we
absolutely.
do that,
Starving for it.
starving for it. And when we do that to each other, for each other, we do a grand thing, you know, in the fact that, you know, I have worked with some hardened criminals, right?
Of course.
And by me looking through and seeing this in them, they come to life.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden they stop what they were doing and they want to do something different in the world because that's all they ever wanted. But some people, by burying that, brings out a hatred towards humanity, and then they do some weird stuff. But really all it is a lacking of being connected to source, right? So many, many years and thousands of years ago or whatever, hundreds of years ago, they took God out of the person and put them up in the ether somewhere.
Yeah.
And then sold that concept back to them bit by bit, but never allowed it back into the body again. As a baby, you come in and you have that in you, you see. You reach a certain age and all of a sudden the hypnosis really starts kicking in and you have to separate that out and be something different to be acceptable in the world. So it's the same thing no matter how you look at it. It's that separation and disassociation of who you truly are. So as you sit in being who you truly are and loving you and knowing who you are, and you look at another human being and you say hello, they have a tendency to come into that space as well.
Absolutely. And it takes so long to really get this hypnosis or these systems out. You know, I feel like I have really been on this journey for so long, and it's like even last week or last month, it's like you still find another layer of programming that you've still been like running under.
Yeah. And so that's how kind of like my sessions are designed. It's come as you feel. I don't tell you to come again. If you want to, you're more than welcome. Because I don't know what you can handle at any given time. So for some people, when they expand and open up and, oh my gosh, they, you know, they need a little break. They need maybe a month off before they do something else. Because for some people, they're just a little slower on the uptake. Other people, man, just crack and they come through and they're ready for it completely and they take it in. But then maybe a little later on, they need a little bit of a pick-me-up, or they need a little bit of a reconnection, and that's open to them too. They can do that, and you know, and that helps people put their evolution in their own hands. It's up to you. I'm not going to tell you to do, you know, whatever you whatever you feel you're ready for more. Come, right?
Absolutely. So on that note, what are your sessions like? What can you tell the audience about if they're thinking of having a session with you? What is that like? Or what are you offering?
they can, there's something that I call Discover You, which is the real you, the magical you. And they can take that, because that's eliciting from the person, it's pretty hard to tell you what that's like because it's different for everybody. But the basic things that I look at is the critic in those sessions, what's happening with the inner child, and then opening up to your unbounded spirit. Okay. Now I do offer those in separate programs too, if people want them, which is the magical inner child, just that, and also removing the critic, just that, if they want that. But mainly I'm always checking to see what the vibrational frequency is. Because of the critic and of the inner child, right? That's the things that I find that haul people back down to low vibration real quick. Not that the child would do that, but being that the child is frozen in a memory, frozen in a time. And we need to unthaw that child so that she can, or he can, open up to you about what they know about before coming here and these sorts of things. So personal sessions, they can just come in for, you know, a single session to try it out,
Yeah.
you know, and then they can apply that single session that they've paid for to a package if they want a package. We just take that amount off the package, and then they can, you know, be billed for that, and they can go through a package of more sessions with me. You know, 4 I usually do, right? And then see from there. Now, I also offer training in the Hartman approach to hypnotherapy, which is more de-hypnotizing than it is about hypnotizing people to do things. It's more about them coming out of the trance that they're already in. And then also Feel the Magic is a 2-day event that I go around and do, or we can do it online. And that leads into Be the Magic, which is be a practitioner in trance alchemy. Yeah.
So I am understanding a little bit, but could you explain a little bit more exactly what the trance alchemy is, maybe on a deeper level?
Okay, so trance alchemy is, first of all, taking it onto yourself. You become a trance alchemist. And that means that you have emotional. See, a lot of people, we went through a phase where we were scared of our own emotions, so we would disassociate them and be emotionless and do our work and whatever. But that wasn't helpful, as we've seen in society, that eventually the emotions get. But emotional flexibility is a big thing with the trance alchemy, and learning about emotional alchemy, which is being able to shift your emotion. Yes, you recognize you have this emotion now in your body, but how quick can you shift it to a different emotion? Because we all know our emotions hold the vibration that is manifesting our reality. So we want to get on shifting those emotional states. And we just take a look at what is sticking a person from their full expression as a goddess or a god. Okay? Something is sticking, right? And so we clean up those things with the trance alchemy work. Trance alchemy is an idealism of the fact that you can be your own alchemist and transform you quite easily. The alchemy, trance alchemy itself, is birthed out of the Hartman approach to hypnotherapy. It's taken all the best work and congealed it into a smaller program, but more condensed program, right? And the new stuff that I'm doing now. The one thing that I found as I'm working with this, if I'm true to it, it evolves, right? And I have to continually add the evolutionary experiences to it, right? What's changed? I mean, I don't know how many times working with the critic has changed over time, because as I'm working with it, I understand that there's a little more here, a little more there. So it's all dynamic in this sense. Dynamic meaning it's ever changing. So trance alchemy is a changing. I give it the right to change. It's changing and evolving as we're going, but it's about, the premise of it is about getting to the crux of the matter and getting you into your God state, right?
Absolutely.
So from fear to gold, you know, from lead to gold. Is that clear, or is that
no?
muddy?
No, that's absolutely clear. And I think the clearest part about it is the idea that it's not gonna always be the exact same anyways. It's not this thing that has to, the very idea of alchemy, the very idea of trance, the very idea of change is like it's fluid, it's changing, it's not this thing that you can define into some, cookie cutter setting anyways. So
No, no,
so yes, I understand it better if that's what you're wondering.
even from one session to another, I can't determine what will happen with the client and where they'll be the next time they come, because I just have to check and see. And this is another thing we teach, is how to fly by the seat of your pants with this stuff, because no matter what you write down in your notes and what you plan for the next session, it's probably not going to happen. And you're going to get really frustrated because it's like the client isn't following you. Well, they don't need to follow you, they need to follow them. So
Absolutely.
staying open to the changes that happen to the client between time, right? Allowing them the flexibility to change their session style or what we're working on next in the next session. So this flexibility, learning how to elicit the gold that people already have within them, to bring it forward and to stack that up so that they start to see that they're really free. They were only convincing themselves they weren't. A lot of things that we go through with trance alchemy to teach basically a human alchemical shifting process. And at the end, where your client is their own healer, is their own teacher, is their own guru, right?
Yeah. No, just to mirror you a little bit as an energy reader, it's crazy to feel and be in the presence of your energy like this, because it's just like this exploding sun. And literally from everyone I've interviewed, from everyone I've talked to, I literally only have one other person in the world to compare it. Like, I don't know if you know Teal Swan, but the
Yes.
only time I've met someone with as pure an aura, as powerful an aura, full of such energy, has been when I met her in person. So it's really incredible to be in the presence of your energy. I just wanted to mirror that to
Well, thank you.
you.
Thank you. And this comes from shifting one's identity from being from being someone who needs to uh, find the answers so that they can become,
Yeah,
to just being it, being that person. And that's what you display as well, is that you just be it. You are it, right? And if people could get
absolutely.
this, there's nowhere to go. There's no place to, you know, just sit at your kitchen table
Absolutely.
and just
Absolutely.
be. And the universe will surrender itself to your feet because it has no choice. When you just be in that knowingness that you are source energy, you are it. You're the living aspect of source energy. That when you sit there, then it stops all of this. I need to do this to be something. No, you need to just be it. Just be it. There's no way to peace. Peace is the way. You
Exactly.
become it. Right?
Finding that within yourself, finding what that feels like, expressing what that feels like, becoming it fully. Absolutely.
And that's what you do. And so
Mhm.
you're doing the same thing as I do, and you're doing the same thing that Teal's doing.
Yeah.
Is that your identity is shifted from being, okay, let's just tell it the way it is, from being the ego self that's
Oh
always
yeah.
in search of,
Oh yeah.
into being your sovereign being.
Oh yeah. And I'm really feeling myself shift into that, like in the last year, I would say. The first year that I was doing this stuff, I was very much still stuck in, this spiritual identity, or this, like I had no idea, absolutely no idea how to be me, let alone help other people do it, right? but now that's what I'm really coming to, because, you know, I feel like it came from that genuine desire and seed to actually help people. And I, you know, I knew all this stuff. It's just that it wasn't, it hadn't taken fruition in the way it has now, basically.
Now you give yourself permission.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So that's what's changed. You probably knew it as a little girl coming in here,
Oh yeah,
and you just give yourself permission to let go of the identity they created for you and step back into your own identity and be strong and powerful in that. And that's what changes. Right? You'll never accommodate society because it's always got this carrot with the stick out in front of you just so you can't reach it.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And that unconditional love and acceptance through that avenue will never happen. It's when you stop, you know, and you break the stick and you say enough of that, and you take the carrot and you just love who you are.
Exactly.
No matter what.
Exactly.
Then it changes.
Yeah. And I mean, I can definitely see how I have been working that way already. You know,
Oh, yeah.
it's always, you know, I'm always asking my clients, you know, what's going on with you? Like, let's tune into you. Like, I have them tell me what's going on with them. I have them speak up, you know, and all I am is a support, is, you know, a presence to help them tune into themselves, to help them you know, unmask themselves, unknot, you know, all of this fear, all of this inner critic, you know, as you call it.
Mm-hmm. Because after all, Ashen, it's their session, isn't it?
Exactly.
So I'm not going to sit there in their session and tell them what they ought to be.
Exactly. Yes.
You tell me, where do you want to go?
And the thing that makes me rip my hair out the most is when that's what the client expects from the session. You know, they come in, they're sitting there, you know, I've seen this so many times before, and it's like their energy is just like nowhere. They're like, they're basically kind of about to grab popcorn and watch the show. Like, they're not there to do anything. They're not there to make a change. They're, you know, they're there to have me regurgitate how to live their life for them. And I just couldn't do that anymore. I literally, I can't work with people like that anymore. I can't work with people who aren't ready to do it for themselves.
You see, they got terribly programmed by the TV, you see.
Oh yeah.
Where it tells you who you should be, what you should believe, what you should drive, who. And so they entered into kind of a zombie field where there's no engagement on their part. It nullified them to the point where they're just sitting there watching the television. And as long as they get up and go to work the next morning and keep food on the table, then, you know, then everything's right in the world, supposedly.
Exactly.
But when people start waking up, one of the first things that they do often is shut that TV off.
Oh yeah.
That
Absolutely.
programming. And then they start to realize that, you know, after a while they realize that they stop bringing the popcorn to the session.
Exactly.
They realize they're going to have to be engaged in order to be at the session, right? But that engagement, as you know and I know, is what is needed for them to transform.
Yes.
That engagement, doing the disciplines, you know, going home and doing some disciplines that where you put away this societal mind, the societal need for acceptance from society that'll never give it to you. That's the name of the game. But moving that aside and exploring and becoming more the goddess within, the God within, realizing that there's more in me. When they make that shift, that identity shift, right? This isn't me, this is me. Well, then things start smoothing out.
One of the biggest problems in this whole idea of hypnotization and everything that society has, you know, been basically hammering people down into is that they get so comfortable in it. And it's not even that they get comfortable in it because they want to. It's like they just feel like they have no idea how to escape, because since they've been programmed against themselves, how would they know how to escape, right? Well, they do, but they just don't know that they do. And and so they just get into this passive, comfortable state, and that's why they're not making a change. That's why they're not waking up for a lot of people.
Exactly. That's exactly accurate. And so they're looking for a cage outside of them when it's actually they've been trapped internally. Right?
Oh yeah.
They don't even realize it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I think it's inevitable with the energies that are happening that people are forced now to step out of the box, right? Otherwise, they go insane in that box because, they can't,
Oh yeah.
but stepping out and discovering who they truly are as an infinite being that has never been born nor never died, right?
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you may have worn many meat suits, but that aspect of you, the ongoingness of you, has never been born nor will it ever die.
Absolutely. Now, what
And
can
it's
you
had
say?
multiple experiences. Mm-hmm.
Now, what can you say about past life regression? Because it's something that I am a little bit, as you could say, against. So I just wanted to hear your opinion on it. So, like going into the past life, healing from the past life.
I use it as a metaphor only.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
If a person comes to me in the present moment and they feel that they have this sharp stabbing pain in their back,
Okay.
I'll have them reach back there and remove it. Now, if that doesn't work, then I might engage that it be a past life, only because they can't face something in what happened here,
Yeah.
right? And so if you use it as a metaphor and you still get the work done, I feel that that's good. I do personally.
Absolutely.
I do personally have memories, and I've met other ones that have memories
I have
of
memories.
of living here before. And so I'm not really against it, but what I am against is entertainment. That we're going to do it for entertainment. We're going to take you back, and
See, that's it.
you
That's what I was really trying to say, is this idea where they're trying to use it to get out of doing the work in their own life.
Mhm.
That's what I can't get behind.
Yeah. And so it becomes, the fourth Cleopatra this week through the office, because there happened to be a show about Cleopatra on TV. The thing is that and not to make light of it or
Yeah.
tease anybody about it, but I find it therapeutic if it's used in a therapeutic way.
Okay.
All my biggest concern is because I've asked people right out and got straight answers from their god or goddess within. I said, when did you bind yourself? And they'll go, oof. And all of a sudden they start getting a vision,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And they get a vision that they're on a stake somewhere, binding themselves, binding their magic. And I just have them cut the binds and set themselves free there and notice what happens here. So I use it as a metaphor, but sometimes people have flashes, and I go with the flashes, right? They have a flash of a past life, and okay, let's go there. So, but I don't hang my whole hat on doing past life regressions because
No.
I don't feel that just doing past life regression is it's again can turn very easily into entertainment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So, do you have any comments on this whole idea of starseed identity and I am this starseed and that starseed? Because it's something that, I helped me at one point, but again, it's something that I'm coming away from now.
I think people are going through this phase of clarifying their own identity.
Yes.
At the end of the day, they become source energy, which is all of it anyway.
Oh yeah.
But I went through it too in my spiritual quest or my spiritual unfoldment, is that I became very much an Octurian energy, or very much a Archangel Metatron,
Oh yeah.
energy, but as I evolved through it, it kept coming up, but yet I'm all of them. How can I be this one and this one and this one? But I think what I was doing was on some level exploring these different ideas, these identities, these aspects, to pull more out of myself until I get to the point where I'm just the infinite, as all are, on some level. But that infinite holds all those different types of, or all those beings, and you can feel yourself go into those, let's call them vibrational portals that you go into, and you experience what it's like to be Metatron, right?
Oh yeah.
Which I never found Metatron to be, a petty kind of loving energy. It's like, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
I actually still feel a little bit of expression within you that's a little bit like Metatron, but of course, as you say, you are everything. So.
And I'm very much, I want to say I'm very much for the fact of people having anger to come out of suppression. I don't think that they'd come out of suppression without some sort of anger.
Oh, yeah.
To force
That's exactly what
themselves out
anger
of
is
suppression.
doing. It just depends on how you use the anger, and that you're not using it to, harm other people.
Exactly. And setting up boundaries,
Oh yeah.
And some people feel when you set up a boundary that you're hurting them. Well,
Oh my God.
you can't get away from it. Yeah. Then be hurt. Here's the boundary, right?
Yeah.
And that's loving you, right?
Exactly. Some people have no idea how to set boundaries for themselves, and they have no idea how to listen to a boundary that is set before them. That's another thing that I've been coming to is like, I'll set down a boundary for someone, and it's like, did you hear me? Like, did you not listen? They're doing the same thing over and over again. And part of it I realized is me not being clear enough within myself, being set within the boundary itself. And part of it is them just not understanding how to keep their own boundaries, so they're having a hard time respecting others.
Exactly. If they don't know what a boundary is because they've never had one, because where that comes from. So then, definitely I'd be working on inner child work there.
Oh yeah.
What's happened to know, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
I remember one time a fella came to me. I was working with the figure skaters here in Alberta, and I was kind of like the secret weapon. I was helping them come into the states that they needed to come into. And I remember that this one man brought his daughter to a session. And he said to me, he says, he closed the door, and she was in the office and I was in the hallway with him. And he said, no. He says, when you have her in that state of hypnosis, because he didn't understand what I did, but when you have her in that state of hypnosis, make sure that you tell her to say yes to me and stop saying no, okay?
Oh.
And I said, certainly, sir. And she'll say yes to every other man out there. And he went, I says, maybe it's a good idea is that you teach her how to say no to you, right?
You're good.
Well, what would happen? What would happen?
Exactly. And that's exactly it, is this obedience that our parents try to create for us. We end up obeying to all these other people out there after we leave home.
Authority figure, yes. Say maybe an abusive man in the relationship, yes. No ability to have her own power to say no. No, he was very, very. His eyes opened up a lot right there, and it was like, no, that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he needed to have that moment with you, definitely.
Yeah, that's all. And so he would learn that what that actually means. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I also had a question about time travel and how does that fit into translocating? Something I'm really unclear on, but the interview you had me watch, I watched it and it came up, so I'm bringing up that question because it totally confuses me, and I'm sure it'll confuse some of the viewers as well. So maybe if you could clarify what that is or how to do that.
So time travel.
Yes.
And okay, I can tell you with experience, right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So from my wisdom.
Yeah.
I was walking down a path in Red Deer, Alberta, and there was like a little river running through there, and there was a path, and I'm walking down this path, and I felt this feeling overcome me.
Yeah.
Right. And as I'm walking and this feeling overcame me, I entered into a different time. So time travel.
Oh.
And I could hear the clopping of hooves down this path. And as it came around the bend, it was a horse, and it was a native man on a horse, and he had a staff with a ball on the end with some feathers.
Oh my God.
And he walked up and he touched me with this. And I mean, I'm talking eyes wide open. I'm not in a trance or a meditation. I'm talking about you're stepping right into a different time. And I can tell you what the feeling is. The feeling is separating from your past and being in your present moment. Because again, it's the past that holds us to a storyline that is
definitely.
here. So when we disconnect from that past and get the feeling of the freedom of being timeless and travel, it starts with maybe an imagination. I just looked around and started feeling that I was in a strange time or a strange place, right? And when I did, then this all started to unfold. But is it possible? Yes. Is it possible to jump timelines? Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely timelines. I've come to realize.
Yeah. And travel in time. You just have to let go of this. See, this story we tell ourselves about our past all the time keeps us glued here.
Yeah.
And when we let go of that and allow ourselves to imagine and play in that, what would it be like if, the next step you took was actually into a different time, right?
Yeah.
If we open up to that possibility, we do it, and we do it bloody instantly. This is the thing. And then people spend a tremendous amount of time convincing themselves that that wasn't real, because that's part of the programming.
Oh yeah, definitely.
When I work with people, for instance, I work with people and I help them to drop into a state. And as they drop into that state with me, my face starts to change. And they'll blink and shake their head to come
Whatever
back.
you did just there, I felt it.
Yeah, because they'll blink and shake their head to come back to reality. But what if you didn't? What if you continued to look? And what if you continued to see the shifting? There we go. How's that feel?
Insane.
So you're actually entering into a different dimension at that moment.
I can feel that.
And you didn't shake your head or blink your eyes to shake it off.
So I'm still there.
Yeah. And then we can break and come back. But this is what we can do with each other. When two or more of you, you've heard the saying, are gathered together,
Okay.
but really what it means is when two and more of you are gathered together, the presence of this source can come out of both of you. And you can change the reality around you. You can feel that difference. And so when people go into that state, they shift out of one reality to another. It's hard not to go back into it again, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just going in there and letting go and opening up to that timelessness, right?
So that being said, I have a question for you. So
Okay.
there's been times where I've seen like literally like portals open up in the sky, and like insane portals that were literally like turning almost like a giant carousel. Would that mean that I was raising into a higher dimension and that's why I was seeing that?
Of course, because probably the neighbor didn't see that.
Oh, definitely not.
But as you see it and you start exploring this, understand that you're entering into a higher vibration. Not everybody's going to see it. Probably nobody's going to see it. Doesn't matter.
Nobody is, right?
Because it's not about them seeing it anyway. It's about you seeing it and owning it yourself that you're seeing it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
See, we're so accustomed to wanting that other person to see it to validate us. If we just drop that and realize that our relationship with source energy is personal and very magical, there's a lot of things that you can experience. And a lot of wisdom that comes through and a lot of understanding. It all comes through. And then later you can validate it by going looking in books or whatever. And you'll see that what you just came through with, what happened to somebody else, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, I definitely went through what you were describing just there. When I started seeing this stuff, I was asking everybody around, like, did you see that? Did you see that? And it was messing me up because it made, it literally made that frequency go away when they would say, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And so I stopped asking.
Yeah. Pick your confidant wisely.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
Yeah, because especially when you're playing with reality like this, internal reality, and shifting it, is because you want somebody that's kind of really open to this kind of thing and supportive of it, rather than somebody that's going to, because as we're opening up, and I don't mean you, Ashen, because you're doing a lot of stuff, but for the population out there, people out there, is sometimes keep it to yourself, right?
Yeah.
If you know that you're going to get a negative response, why would you do it? Just keep it to yourself and make it a personal relationship with source energy and watch how fast this goes for you. How fast
and
you
the
run.
truth is, the people in your life might just not be ready. I mean, that's something I've really realized with my family. Is like, it's not going to help them if I tell them what I'm experiencing, because again, it's me tearing them away from their own time and guidance to get there. If they're not ready to get there, if they're not able to get there, like, you can do other things to help them, reconnect them with their power, their divines.
Buy them an apple, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But to show them what I'm experiencing and to show them my reality, like, it's not going to do anything for them. They're just not ready. And so it's just like, it's you pushing yourself onto them instead of them coming to it on their own. Exactly.
Which is a whole different thing. You only want people coming to you because they want to be there.
Exactly.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I feel like people do that because they're searching for validation. But again, you need to validate yourself. You need to give yourself that validation.
Oh, things move real swiftly when you start validating yourself, because really what you're trying to do is to get other people to validate you so that you can get past your own thing that you do to devalue yourself. And so you're trying to add up all these people out there that value you so that you can get past your own. If you just stop the bullshit and just come inside and deal with why you're devaluing you, and then validate yourself, then you're a free, infinite being, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't need anybody to validate you.
I feel like literally, like, and you can probably relate to this, literally the one thing that has given me an advantage to come into my divine sorority and come into my own power was that I remember that ever since I was younger, you know, I was probably the person, I'm not saying I didn't get hypnotized, but I was probably the person out of everybody who was not listening to anyone else, who was not, you know, listening to what the adults were saying, who was thinking for herself, feeling into, you know, everything on her own. You know.
And what did they do to you? Did they put you on Ritalin? Did they give you some sort of thing like that? Did they put you in a funny, you know, class with other?
I mean, I think judgment was the most of what they did, you know, like why is this girl, you know, over there on her own, and every other kid is running around like a maniac, and she's over there like, you know, doing art or whatever. So I think the main thing was judgment. I wasn't put on any
Yeah,
medication, thankfully. I
thank
think that would
God.
have really messed me up.
No, but usually, and I said that so that people recognize that usually, usually when you have this sort of, you know, drugging going on in
Oh yeah.
school, it's the people just like you and I that are being that's being done to, that can think outside the box, and there's a reason,
Yeah.
you know, because you don't conform, you're non-conformist, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Think about it. What does non-conformist mean? To into a box with the here's the limitations of a human being, or do you want to be outside the box, right?
Within your own box.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's, you know, that's what authenticity is, and it's just becoming yourself and really, you know, honoring yourself, you
That's
know.
right.
And that's the part of the hypnotism of, you know, society is like, oh, don't be like this, don't be like this, don't, you know, that's weird, that's this, that's that, you know, all these judgments that we make. Well, when they say that's weird, if that's genuinely a part of someone's internal guidance system to adopt that identity because it's a part of their divine sorority, it completely messes them up, because then they can't be themselves without being considered weird, right?
Exactly. That's part of the judgment that keeps them afraid of being rejected by the society. Right? So then they always toe the line, so that they psychologically toe the line, so that they don't never face that abandonment from society. Well, the thing is the whole, if the whole of society is hypnotized, then what are you, you know,
Oh yeah.
let's step out of the conforming and become a non-conformist.
Yeah. And I mean, the sad part is it was serving certain people for a long time to have us these sheeps that were conforming to this way, because then they could just have their way with us. You know, they created a society of slaves rather than a society of individuals.
They certainly did have their way with us.
Oh yeah.
And that's the thing that gets me, honestly, is that when people argue for that limitation, it just makes me shake my head. But
Oh
it's
yeah.
only because they don't have a frame of reference of what is beyond that
Yeah.
control.
Oh yeah.
They don't know. And
Or they're
so,
so sucked into that to actually doubt it would be to invalidate their own reality at that point.
exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. So
Okay.
in closing off, do you have any last words for the audience on everything that we've been speaking of? And also, I'd love it if you could share where people can find you, so they know where to reach you.
Well, they can reach me at DwaineHartman.com. And Dwaine is spelled DWAINE, and Hartman HARTMAN. DwaineHartman.com, and there you'll find what I'm doing and what I offer to people. What I want to leave people with is the fact that understand that your own imagination and your self-love is the key to everything that you want, to your freedom. And freedom is more important than anything else, is to become free and become your own master, right, in this life. And so that's what I'm about, is helping people to do that.
Thank you so much for being here today with me and doing this interview. I'm so excited to get this information out there because you have an incredible way of speaking and teaching this information that I think that is so important for people to apply to their own lives.
And so do you. Honestly, right?
Thank you.
You bring it across very well. You own it, and that's the biggest thing. You know, you own it inside of yourself, and then it's easy to bring it across.
I do, yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
All right, thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Bye-bye.